You ever thought about how you're actually going to retire? Not just when, but how. Here's what I've noticed. Most of the time, it doesn't really have to do too much with how much people have saved. It's that they don't have a plan. They don't have a transition plan, a life plan. So today in this video, what I want to do with you is share with you a story that's probably going to hit a little bit home with you as it did me, but hopefully it will change to help you get to the point that work is optional. And then that way, you'll be able to go from full time to part time to doing whatever you want. Now, let's start off with the story of Dr. Jim. And Dr. Jim is a dentist, and he's in his mid 40s. He's married, he's got 3 kids, successful practice. He's like me. He started off as a Dave Ramsey guy. He pretty much anti debt. So at this point, his 3 kids are in high school. His practice is almost paid off. He still owes the mortgage, cars, student loans, all that are paid off. He's been good saver, good investor, put money in index funds, 401k. So he's got a pretty good little nest egg 401k, taxable accounts. But the thing is, the wear and tear of dentistry is starting to take a toll on his body. He's starting to have some neck issues, starting to have some back issues. And just after 20 years of practicing, dealing with office drama, and even worse, dealing with those patients that come in like every single week saying, hey, doc, no offense, but I just hate going to the dentist. And, he has to put on his fake smile and just kind of nod and play it off. But really deep down inside, hearing this time and time again started to take a toll on him. Now, fast forward, Dr. Jim is now 10 years later. He's in his mid 50s. Now, of his 3 kids, 2 of them have already finished college. Him and his wife, they're empty nesters. The only thing that he owes on now, he has a little bit left on his house. But now he's really, the practice is really starting to take a toll on him. All right. He is really having some pain, really having some issues. Now he's starting to have some shoulder pain, which is actually keeping him up at night. So he's having some sleep issues. And he had gone from 5 to 4 days a week, thinking about maybe going to 3.5 days a week. But here's the thing, all the expenses that they have, even though they have a good nest egg, they have all that going on, they rely on him showing up every day, trading time for money, treating patients. Or maybe in your position, if this sounds like you, treating customers, clients, whatever, clocking in, clocking out. Fast forward again. Now, Dr. Jim is in his mid 60s. He is just totally checked out from practice. Just about everything hurts now. And he can literally do a procedure on autopilot. He can take out a tooth or do a crown prep or whatever by just, watching TV in the corner, smoking a cigarette, doing whatever. He's on autopilot. And he doesn't have any empathy pretty much anymore for his patients. And he understands that that's a bad thing. It's not like he's doing bad work. It's just he doesn't need to be there. But again, he's there because he didn't have a plan. And his wife has been on him about traveling. And the thought of him getting on a plane and going overseas and sitting on a plane for 8 to 10 hours, he can't even imagine that because he could just barely sit for 10, 15 minutes. So he's missed the boat. He's missed to where he can actually enjoy himself, have freedom, have fun, all because at this point in his life, he didn't set his financial plan, his life plan, his transition plan, whatever you want to call it. He did not set it up. But the bottleneck now that he's dealing with is his health. So for me now, I'm not fully retired, but in my opinion, I've reached something that's even better. It's work optional status. Now, it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that you have to work on, you have to be diligent about. But to me, I think that's actually better. And so here are the 3 things that I think will help you and also would have helped Dr. Jim along the way as well. And the first thing to get to the point that work is optional is you got to look at where your income's coming from. So active income, passive income. So if right now, if you're in a situation that all of your income relies on you trading time for money, then you are never going to retire whenever you want. All right. So I can remember whenever I finished dental school, started my practice, this was over 20 years ago, my cousin that's an attorney that he actually retired when he was, I think, in his mid 40s. And he basically said, Jeff, start with the end in mind. And I was like, whatever, dude, I just started practicing. And I didn't understand that at the time. Now, over 20 years later, I get it. You have to start with the end in mind. What do you want? What you want is not going to be probably what I want. Okay. So you have to start with the end in mind. If you want to retire early, then you have to start with that first. Start somehow, some way replacing your active income with passive income. For me, it's been real estate syndications, group investments that do not require me to go out and manage tenants, and just slowly starting building passive income streams. You don't want to do real estate? That's fine. Pick something that you like, but you have to get more. You have to get more reliance on other things besides you trading time for money. All right, that's step number one. Step number two is, and again, don't take this as financial advice. This is just something that I'm personally doing. And you have to look at your portfolio. Up until this point, the majority of my portfolio has been growth type of index funds, S&P 500 funds, the stock market index funds, that sort of thing. And that's, if you're working, then that's basically what probably you should be doing. You want to be investing in something that you don't need to worry about getting income from it then because you're working, right? But as you start to gradually transition out of that, and you're kind of worried in the back of your mind, well, what if I haven't saved enough? What if I'm going to run out of money? I don't know if I've saved enough. So then again, that delays the process that makes you keep working. So I've started to shift some of my growth income portfolio into more an income portfolio. So for instance, these S&P 500 index funds, total stock market index funds, that sort of thing, those are great because they're focused more on growing their stock price. So, you buy it at $100, it goes up to 125, 150, 200, 300. So the goal is to really increase that price. So when you do eventually start to sell it off in quote retirement, you're going to own a lot more shares. It's going to be worth more. Now, because I guess I have a real estate mindset, I don't want to sell any of my assets because if you go buy a property, let's say you buy like a rental property, maybe a beach house or something like that, I don't really care if I'm renting it out for income. What do I care what it's worth? I'm not trying to sell it. I want the income on it now, right? So I don't want to sell any of my assets if I don't have to that are in the stock market. All right. I just want to pretty much just get the income off of it. So that, and again, don't take this as financial advice, but that's what I've started to do. So you may want to consider looking at something like that because the S&P 500, those types of index funds, they typically pay 1 to 1.5% in dividends. Now, if you have $1 million portfolio, think you can live off 10 grand a year, 15 grand a year? That ain't going to jive in my household. So you can actually get different types of funds. There's dividend paying stocks and ETFs and close-end funds, and there's all kinds of different things out there. I actually did an interview from the guy that sparked my interest, that wrote the book called The Income Factory. If you want to just check out some of my videos, I actually did an interview with him. And before I go any further, it's amazing to me that over 93% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed to this channel. Are you? If not, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you will continue to get information like this if you like it, right? So back to our regular scheduled program. So with these income funds, the dividends are higher, 6, 8, 10%. And that way you don't have to worry about running out of money. So you can actually, if you have a little bit of passive income coming in, then you have some dividends coming in. So you can get to the point where maybe if you're working 5 or 4 days a week, you have other income streams coming in. Well, work is optional. Gets to the point where work is optional. Because right now, if you have 0 other income streams, you can't stop working. And then step number 3 is start the transition process as soon as possible. So if you're working full time right now, maybe working 5 days a week. Well, if you go to 4 or 3 days a week, start the process slowly. Start to slowly take those days that you were working and do something different. For me, as I've gotten older, now that my wife and I are empty nesters, I play more pickleball. We take more trips. I'm really focused on my health more. So start to fill those empty or extra hours into doing things that you like, or try different things. Maybe you have a bucket list item, travel, whatever. So you're not going from full-time work to fearing retirement because you're thinking, and somebody asks you, well, why haven't you retired yet? And you say, well, what else am I going to do? All I ever do is work. I don't know how to do anything else. What kind of life is that? You know? So by doing this, kind of like going buy a car. Well, if you are thinking about buying a vehicle and you see a few of them, test drive it. Take it for a test drive, right? Just like this, where you're test driving your transition into retirement. So you're not going from full-time to fully retired cold turkey. Does that make sense? Now, here's the part that no financial advisor is going to talk to you about. They're going to talk to you about your money, but they're not going to talk to you about the most important thing, and that's your health. Dr. Jim, he pretty much has wasted his health. He's got enough money to retire, but now he doesn't have the health. Remember, his wife wants to travel more. He can't do the sort of things that she wants to do, that she wants them to do together, because he's neglected his health. He's in too much pain. He's pretty much miserable. For me, now that I'm in my 50s, I've actually doubled down on my health. I'm playing more pickleball, which has allowed me to go and meet different people that I hadn't met before. So my wife and I are doing that more. We're meeting different people. I've actually hired a functional medicine doctor to look at my overall health, look at my hormonal balances or imbalances, peptide therapy, all kinds of different things like that before I knew nothing about. But now, as I'm getting older, getting aches and pains, and I'm a pretty healthy guy, but I want to be just in optimal health, not only for retirement, but for if I have grandkids, hopefully I will at some point, to be able to enjoy them. So that's the thing that really people, I think, neglect so much, is their health. And then when they get to the point they're in their 60s or 70s, they can't enjoy retirement. All right, so here's the deal. If you focus your savings only on savings, you're going to end up like Dr. Jim, trapped in the golden handcuffs. Instead, build a life you don't need a vacation from. Remember the 4 steps, what we talk about. Make work optional. How do we do that? We start replacing our active income from passive income, right? We want to build those passive income streams. Third, which I think is probably the most important thing, prioritize your health. What's the point in having bukus of money if you don't have your health? And then last but not least, make sure that you test drive your retirement before you actually retire. And then when the time comes, you'll be ready. Remember, subscribe to the channel, debtfreedoctor.com, if you want more information. And if you want to check out my favorite real estate investment, real estate syndications, check out this next video.